Marisa Tomei is back on Broadway giving a stunning performance in Tennessee Williams' The Rose Tattoo. Known for her Oscar-winning turn in My Cousin Vinny, as well as other on-screen triumphs in The Wrestler, In the Bedroom, and many more, including her turns as Aunt May in the Spider-Man films, this Brooklyn native has a special place in her heart for the theater. Hear about her legendary turn in How to Succeed as Hetty LaRue, her family tap dancing troupe, and more on this week's Show People. Marisa, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited you're on Broadway, and in this play, I didn't know The Rose Tattoo. I'm a big Tennessee Williams fan, and this was sort of this hole in my knowledge. I love this production so much, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm so thrilled you're here. Are you having a good time?
I'm having a great time. It's so much fun.
Serafina is one of his iconic, great female characters, and she's a lot.
Her name, Serafina, means fiery angel, Serafina, that sews. He chose such a name with so many layers.
Yeah.
Exactly what she is.
Well, that's Tennessee Williams. I mean, he really...
It's still mind-blowing.
You did this play 3 summers ago, right? Up at WTF. I like calling it WTF.
Yeah.
Williamstown Theater Festival.
We all get a kick out of that, right?
Yeah. What's it like when you do something so many years ago and then you've been kind of living with it? I'm sure you were hoping to bring it back, and I'm sure like there was it was in your head.
Well, yes, because we had a good time there, so much of a good time. And it's also so thrilling because it's so fast to do it up at WTF. But you also, there's so many more layers that you long to get into.
Mm-hmm. So do you live with it those years? Like, do you think about her, Serafina? Does she sort of like, I mean, she must sort of live with you a little bit in the back while you're doing Spider-Man and other things?
Well, yes, I long for her, I miss her. But also, I didn't really know if it was really going to happen because of timing, and you never know till you know in this business, you know that. So she was there whispering. And there were a couple of times where I thought, this isn't going to happen, give up. And then I opened this book. It was late at night. I was like, I can't really sleep. I'm going to read a book. And I pulled this book out by Simon Callow, a wonderful theater actor and director. And it was a book called Love is Where It Falls. And anyway, the first paragraph says, it's your rose and you have to protect your rose. And it goes into this whole thing about roses. And it was right at the time where it's like, I'm going to give this up. And I felt like it was speaking to me. And it was also a book that a theater person had written. So yes, I suppose it was with me
got a
in a
message
certain way.
Simon Cowell.
But also that's very Serafina's, and I got a sign. I got a sign.
So you're Italian, grew up in Brooklyn Italian.
Yeah.
And you're a quarter Sicilian.
Yes.
Right? And this is a very Sicilian woman.
Yes.
A lot of passion, a lot of fire, like you said. What was it like finding that energy? I mean, your energy on stage is incredible and one of a kind. I mean, this performance, I really felt like you're jumping in so full-heartedly, and the payoff is huge for that. What was it like finding that energy and that passion in her?
Well, it's interesting about the Sicilian thing because even for me, I thought, well, okay, I'm Italian-American, and I wasn't particularly raised deeply that way. I was raised in a very ethnically mixed neighborhood, and actually the neighborhood that Woody Allen is from, and it was just it wasn't like a little village of Italians or anything, and it wasn't my family's perspective at that time. So we had a lot of holidays and traditions, but not steeped in the culture in a certain way. And so this journey was also a homecoming for me and an understanding, because I'm the eldest of all our cousins. So I don't know, I felt like at first I felt like a real burden to have all the holidays at my house. I'm like just on his plain level, and I was like, I can't do that, I'm on the road too much. But what I'm saying is there's a through line that I wanted to keep and understand. We all want to understand our heritage and certainly where some of these personality traits come from. So, but my mom is half Sicilian, so her mom was the part that was Sicilian, and we kind of really didn't ever embrace that because she died very young, my mom's mom, and it's been we don't talk about her that much. So there was something in this that led me to an inner dialogue and an external dialogue with my mom, but also with my grandma, who I didn't really know, and all of that comes through her, because I had been to Tuscany before. Yes, I'm Italian, but I didn't really even think about the distinction to being Sicilian. So I got to learn about the history and the specifics of the food, and then some of the temperament, which is what your original question was, and the ways that it can just be like kind of morose and then extremely exuberant. And it was like a real mother to mother thing. And then even in the play, there's the mother-daughter relationship, and there's this kind of resolution and homecoming with them after they had been so close, and then this separation. And you were saying what a genius Tennessee Williams is with all the levels. And when I realized that, I mean, this might be kind of esoteric to people, but it was interesting to me that Sicily is the island of Demeter and Persephone, and that's the mother-daughter relationship. So that is so profound. And they were part of the lineage of Dionysus, and which is the goat in the play. So he's got all these layers of myth working there, and actual history, and emotional truth.
In some other ways, you're kind of playing Tennessee Williams, because he wrote this play. It was after A Streetcar Named Desire. He had a huge success, and he wrote it when they were in Key West, and he was in love. Frank Merlo, right?
So in love with Frank Merlo.
Yeah,
so
Frank
in
Merlo.
love.
But my favorite thing is he was so happy during that time, and in such great health and spirits, that he told one of his friends he was down to 5 drinks a day. Which is just Tennessee Williams, but I love that quote. But it really came out of this love for this man, who he called Little Horse, by the way, which is a whole other thing. Read into that however you want.
Lucky him.
but Serafina was sort of the stand-in for Tennessee, right? And it was about kind of this relationship that he had met this man, and he had sparked all this in him.
Yeah, and he fell in love with Sicily too.
Yeah.
Because the dedication is to Frank in return for Sicily. So because of Lar and because of that book Leading Men that just came out.
Yes. I met the author of that book.
Yeah, it's so exciting that
yeah.
Frank Merlo is being honored and recognized, because it seems to me that there was an idea that Frank was just his assistant, and who's that kind of secretary guy who, he's hot, but, and I was thinking about it a lot, and you can't be inside this play and have any doubt that they weren't truly deeply in love, and that they were a match, and an intellectual match too. I mean, he makes Serafina smart, but he makes his Rosa even smarter, our daughter. There's no disparaging of the Italians. He elevates them, and I think all of that comes from his love of Frank and all the intimate things. You know, did you get to meet Joey Merlo? Frank's.
No.
My God, you should do an interview with him, because it was one of the greatest gifts of this play. Frank's great nephew, Joey, is a playwright, a young playwright.
Oh, wow.
And he was contacted by the theater. I had no idea that. I was so thrilled. So I got to go to dinner with him, and we text, and we're in touch now, because I can ask him questions.
Yeah.
I can ask him questions about, well, what do you think this thing is about the Baronessa? Is it true? Was he titled? Wasn't he titled? I don't understand the obscure Sicilian hierarchy of titles. And he said, yes, our family was an important family in Sicily. And then our joke was, we came to America, and we're like, now we drive trucks. And that's in the play. So there's no way that Tennessee wasn't madly in love with Frank and his family.
Yeah.
And then their history was buried, because Joey told me he didn't even know anything about his great uncle at all. He himself had to do the digging.
Wow.
He would hear these whispers of your great uncle Frank, Marlon Brando once came to the house for dinner, and he's like, what are you talking about?
And Alvaro's played by the fantastic Iman Elliott.
Yes, he's just brilliant.
Did you know he's Scottish, right?
He's Scottish.
Who knew?
This is the icing on the cake. He's brilliant.
He's so fantastic. And he told us that you took him out for a drink at a dive bar. That was sort of to break the ice with him. You're a New Yorker. I'm assuming you know some good dive bars. So.
Well, it was just Jimmy's Corners,
Okay.
Yeah, it was all right. could have picked a fancier place. But
That
it's like,
scene
let's go
at
out
the
for
top
drinks.
of Act 2, the two of you, is just golden. And actually, I was reading that was written sort of late in the process for Tennessee Williams. That scene actually came later in the writing process, but it's so great. You guys having fun together?
Oh my gosh, it's a dream. It's almost like, I don't want to talk about it. It's just so good. It's like one of those things you don't want to become too conscious of because it's just such a nice flow. By the way, I've taken him out to other places since then.
We're going to talk more with Marisa Tomei about Rose Tattoo and a lot of other things right after this break. We are back with Marisa Tomei, who is fantastic in the Rose Tattoo. I've loved you in so many things over the years, but I'm really upset I missed your Hedy LaRue. Can we talk about your Hedy LaRue?
In junior high?
Yes, in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Weren't you Hedy LaRue?
Bring that up? Yes, I mean, just last night.
What? No, what? What's the connection?
No, last night, two of the kids that were in 8th grade with me.
I didn't know that.
Really?
What? No.
They brought me the program from our 8th grade
That's amazing.
show.
And you were Hedy LaRue.
Yes. No,
that just happened.
That just happened last night.
I had no idea.
Lorna and Adam Wallach, the twins.
Look at that. See, maybe it's a sign. You need to do Hedy LaRue again.
I'd love to.
She's a classic musical comedy.
I just remember I was focused on pencil skirts.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly.
Tells you like,
that was the look.
I am I'm usually like an inside out kind of actor, but sometimes I'm like, I need the right underwear, I need the right skirt.
For a while, I thought I was going to see your charity Hope Valentine in Sweet Charity, right? Weren't you supposed to do Sweet Charity? I'm sorry, did I bring up something sensitive? I wanted to see that.
Yeah.
Do you have like a musical in you?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
You'd still like to do a musical?
It would be a dream.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
It would be a dream.
Have you eyed any like specific things you would like to start singing about, or roles you'd like?
Well, that was one of them. I mean, I'm aging into different groups of what.
Well, I'm going to start making lists for you now.
Please
I'm going to start. Okay,
Please
I'm going to think about it because I like the idea.
Yeah, and I'm a character singer.
Okay, sure, yeah, right. So. Over in Flatbush, that's where you grew up, right?
Yes.
And your parents were Gary and Adelaide, or Addie, right?
Yeah.
And they took you to Broadway.
Yes, yeah.
What do you remember? What do you remember seeing? Anything sort of jump out?
Well, we saw Chorus Line, of course, was like lucky enough to see that a few times.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because we were just all like holding hands, my brother too. And you find those things as a family, where do you connect? What are the things and that was one of the things that really, gave our spirit.
Show, though. It's a very adult show in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? That's what's so cool about.
Yeah, I guess so. But I remember I'm remembering now, I was given the album as an Easter present. So we played that album over and over and over again. And that's what made my brother want to take tap lessons. And so my brother started tap dancing. And
he said, I could do that.
But then I said I could do that because I folled him. Because I wasn't taking tap. And he'd come home and then he'd show me the steps. And then we went to, in Carroll Gardens, the Albee School of Dance.
Okay.
And we tap danced together, and then my parents got jealous, and then they started tap dancing.
What? The whole family?
So we actually had, so I was in the girls' class, and he was in the boys' class, but then we had like family tap lessons.
The whole family would go to tap class.
At one point in my family, I can actually say we had
I've never heard anyone say
that
story.
I don't know if I should have exposed that. It's kind of quirky or just downright weird.
You recently shared a photo on Instagram of you. I think you were 14. You had great feathered hair. You were like I had great feathered hair back then too, by the way.
I could see you have a nice head of hair.
everyone had great feathered hair back then. Seems like you got into performing. I mean, you started pretty young.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, it was just something like, that's an after-school option. It was public school. It was, summertime kind of stuff, but nothing like I'm going on auditions or I'm seeking out another level of it. It was in the mix of things that, like gymnastics. I did gymnastics also.
So how did you wind up like in the Flamingo Kid? It was like your first sort of big moment.
Yeah,
You had a line. Matt Dillon was like super hot, still super hot, but that was sort of like at the peak of Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
How did it become professional? Because it seems like you kind of got on a roll.
After high school, I had to decide about college and what was I thinking what I might do. Well, I went to Edward R. Murrow High School in Brooklyn, which is also a public high school, but they have a lot of different focuses, and one of the things that they're known for is their theater department as well. So I was very lucky with that because it was in my neighborhood as well. So it just kind of turned out that way, and we had great teachers there. So when we had to choose for college, I was thinking about some other things too, and I guess, you know, just so I was like, I really like this, I'll try for it. And then I went to Boston University for a year, and then I wound up leaving. And during that summer, I asked, I needed a summer job, basically, and my dad was like, you can do some filing down at the Board of Ed, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So that's how I just started answering some ads in backstage, or just go. I would just throw myself into anything. I mean, I was not a professional dancer. I'd go on like the dance auditions, like so lost. And
Just
then
kind of took a chance.
Yeah, I took a chance, and then they had some kind of open calls for some things, and I think that's how I wound up going in on Flamingo Kid. And then Marge Simpkin, the divine casting person who has helped and encouraged so many people, she took a shine to me. She encouraged me. I said, I don't really know what I'm doing, and she took the time to write to my parents and to talk to them about, you know, what kind of path I could take, and
say that she saw something in you, and say that like there's something here.
Yeah, and she was casting Flamingo Kid. So, I mean, I'm just like an ex, basically, and I have one line in that, but it was still fun. It was my summer job. It saved me from filing all summer, I guess.
Yeah, and then you started doing theater off Broadway. You won a Theater World Award really early.
I was
it Mary
with
Testa,
Bernie
one of your
Telsey.
sisters in that?
Mary Testa,
play, right? It was called Daughters.
Yeah.
I remember the posters for Beirut were all over this. I remember that poster was like sort of all over the city. I remember seeing
that was just so thrilling to be part of that, and to be at the beginning with Bernie and Will and
MCC,
Bobby at MCC.
Right, MCC Theater,
Yeah, that was also kind of a crucible, because I mean, I'm in my underwear the whole show too. I mean, it was about the AIDS crisis, and it was very poetic and very beautifully written play. But it was also, you know, just challenging in terms of like growing up and what career are you going to have, and how your family reacts. And I remember my grandmother, she said, I'm going to come, but I'm telling all my friends that it closed early. So she didn't want anyone to go to, like that kind of thing. That's what I mean by like transitions.
What were you like at that time? Were you like hungry for all of this? And you moved to Manhattan, right? At some point?
Yeah, I did. With people from Flamingo Kid, like they hooked me up with an apartment. A lot of us became friends on that, because it was like, you know, it takes place in a beach club, so it was a very perfect first. I don't think there'll be any job more perfect than that in my life. Had a beach club all summer.
That was the pinnacle. Yeah. Everything else, just trying to live up to that.
Yeah. It was a different time. It wasn't like a. I mean, culturally, like, there wasn't social media, and there weren't cameras. There weren't even cameras everywhere.
Right.
So, when you talk about hunger, it wasn't like what we associate with hunger.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
It was just more, I would say probably more like a need, like a therapeutic need. Like, I have to do this to express feelings that I don't even know I have.
Right.
Like most actors, you know, most artists.
Most actors.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're going to talk more with Marisa right after this break. We're back with Marisa Tomei. I have to ask you about Mona Lisa Vito. I mean, I can't not ask about My Cousin Vinny, which I remember seeing at the day it came out in movie theaters and just falling in love with you and that character. And, you know, but I was thinking, I know this quote keeps sort of following you, that Lady Gaga said that she would like you to play her in a movie, which and I know you've met her, and that's sort of like a very flattering thing. But I actually think, why don't they just make a My Cousin Vinny musical, and she can play Mona Lisa Vito? Wouldn't Lady Gaga be great? And
What a great idea.
Let's just do that. Let's do that. Tell her next time you see her.
Okay.
I heard she's flirting with the idea of Broadway, so that would work.
Yeah, that would
work. That movie, though, is iconic and amazing. And do you ever watch it? No. And you won an Oscar. I'm sure you remember that. That was a big moment. And it was so well deserved. And of course, a comedic performance winning an Oscar, which I think we all really appreciate. And you've been nominated since for much more dramatic performances.
Yeah.
But that sort of was your first big entry. Your career has gone in so many directions. You've done so many things. And it's so hard to pin down what you are other than a fantastic actress, because you've played so many different types of characters over the years, and you think like a character like that could have easily sort of created a path for someone, but it hasn't. You've actually been able to do so many things.
Well, it's like trying to get out of being stereotyped and things like that. So that was conscious to try to not do.
You immediately did like Chaplin. Right. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's just luck of the draw and picking from what you get.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a variety.
Well, what do you look for now? Because even what you've done on Broadway is so varied. I mean, I've seen you do so many things just on Broadway in the shows you've chosen.
Yeah, Top Girls.
What gets you excited?
I mean, I just love words so much. And so I think when I think about Top Girls or I think about Will Eno's play, I think that there's just the wordsmithing in terms of theater is exciting to me, and thematically, what are we exploring? So those things draw me in terms of theater stuff. It's also the package too. Who's going to be directing and who will you be with? Those kinds of things. Sometimes I can be swayed. I mean, in terms of a movie, like if it's on a really great location or something like that, that would be the wild card factor.
Flamingo Kid style. Great locations. Yeah, but I'm excited about this musical thing, though.
We have to put our heads together.
Okay, all right, we're going to work on that.
Yeah.
What I think must be fantastic about Rose Tattoo is the language of Tennessee Williams. It just must be amazing. I'm assuming you always are sort of finding new rhythms in it, and I mean, it's poetry at times, and it's just so stunning.
It's poetry is opera sometimes. These little arias in the middle of it.
And there's great singing in this production too. Some great Broadway ladies are singing.
Yes,
in
they
Italian,
are. We're so lucky.
Which is also fantastic. Do you have any favorite things you get to say in the Rose Tattoo, or sort of like favorite moments, nuggets?
I try not to think about those things yet. And it's funny in the dressing room, in the bathroom. That people have left their favorite quotes from their show.
Oh, really?
So there'll be something from Bernard Hamlet.
Cool.
Something from...
That's a thing.
Yes, from travesties. There's all these things on the bathroom wall. And I've been thinking, what do I want to put up there?
You got to figure out what your quote's going to be.
And you're asking me now.
I'm sorry, now I'm stressing you out. You're like, I've been thinking about what my favorite quote is.
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, I'm sure because you're sort of like living in it, and you just sort of you get in the rhythm of doing the play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to we're halfway through the run, so that's that point where I don't think too much, because then things can start to become very conscious in the wrong way.
Right.
Of course, there's been a lot of thinking up to this point, but it's been exploration, and then you've been digging through it, and now I don't want to switch into. I don't want it to go too much. I want us to stay down here and here.
Right, of course. I think I've heard you say that movie and TV work could never sort of live up to what stage work is for you. I mean, obviously it pays nicely. It pays nicely to do maybe a big Marvel film.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, this is sort of where it's at for you.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely where my heart is and my soul is.
Because you seem extremely just happy. You just seem like you're very...
I was just thinking that while we were doing this interview. I'm like, I'm so much happier than those other interviews.
Yeah, you're kind of glowing. I mean, you're glowing on stage and you're glowing right now. So I guess like when you get to spend a few months on Broadway doing something like this is just sort of the peak.
With a treasure of a play that is a discovery. It's like you said, so many people haven't seen it. It's a privilege to be able to be part of it. I mean, really.
Do you picture yourself like being like a Marion Seldes and just like working, into your later years and just keep coming back to Broadway? And
I hope so. Broadway and off Broadway. And
yeah. That's sort of the dream.
And up at WTF, with Mandy.
Sure.
Yeah. It's I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. And there is something to some of the craft work in the other areas. They both feed each other in a certain way, different muscles. But I think I like being with people. So I think that's probably why the theater.
Is the rehearsal process exciting for you, and getting to know actors and creating the family of the performers? I mean, they all speak very highly of you, everyone in the company.
Oh, I love it. This company is fantastic.
Yeah.
Trip Coleman, our wonderful director, has brought together just a wonderful one, not a bad apple in the bunch, and just so much heart, smarts, humor. It's a great group.
Well, I love this production so much. It's so fresh. It's so modern in so many ways for this play that was written, premiered in 1951. I think Trip Coleman is a brilliant director, and I think you're giving a stunning performance.
Thank
I want everyone to go see it.
Yes.
So The Rose Tattoo is playing through December 8th at the American Airlines Theater. You don't need a boarding pass to get in. You just need a ticket. It's just
but you can fly in.
Thank you so much, Marisa. It's such a treat to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.